All right, I'm excited to introduce our Direction Not Perfection community today to Peter McLaughlin, certified hypnotherapist and life coach. Began his work in the wake of a critical leukemia diagnosis in 2003. This pivotal moment sparked his journey into understanding the profound impact of our minds and our spirits on our health, on our emotions, and our well being. Peter advocates for healing old trauma and changing deep seated subconscious patterns to transform someone's life. And I'm so excited to have this conversation today. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you so much. I'm thrilled to be here.
We're going to dive deep into this area that I feel like my community asks most. The hey, Lindsey, I know what to do. I just need to do it. And this is why we bring you Peter today, because he's going to enlighten us on some of this thinking. I'm just going to dive right on in with this question. But you talk about change happening at the root cause. What does that actually mean in the context of, and let's take kind of a weight loss behavior change type mode today.
Okay. So it's going to be different for everyone. Not everyone is going to have the same root cause. And it's one of the things that confounds our society when it comes to resolving anything involving health. We want one pill that does everything for everyone. We're just way too complex for that. So if you think about your autonomic nervous system, autonomic just means automatic. You know that, but for anyone out there that doesn't know that, it just means automatic. It's running all of the major processes of your body all the time behind the scenes. And it's under the control of your subconscious mind, which represents about 95% of your brain's processing power. The autonomic nervous system only has two modes. It has dangerous to put you in a fight or flight, and it's got safe to put you in rest and digest. Now, it also has no concept of time. Something that happened to you 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 50 years ago, if it's not been resolved in the subconscious mind, as far as the subconscious is concerned, it can represent a clear and present danger. Now, there are people who have, let's say, been sexually abused, sadly, as children, and the subconscious has decided that it wants the weight as a kind of armor to protect that person, as a barrier between them and the outside world. It maybe even has drawn the conclusion that with the additional weight, they won't be attractive to a would-be attacker. Whether that's true or not is another case, but if the subconscious has decided that, it's now going to prevent that person from taking off the weight. It might let them get to a certain point and then stop. And people can feel like this is self-sabotage, but it's really another part of your mind, a very powerful part that is attempting to protect you. So in this example, to heal root cause, we would have to heal the trauma that is associated with the desire of the subconscious to keep the weight on. We'd have to help subconscious recognize that that threat is no longer a clear and present danger, that it's over, finished, done, completed, so that it can relax and allow the person to achieve their goals. There's another really common one, but I'll stop talking for
Oh
now.
gosh, no, this is so good. I'm actually going to throw you a thought and then you go with yours too. Keep talking on this because this is the resonating piece where I know listeners are going, I know I have something to that degree that's happening and I don't know how to fix it. One of the common ones that I feel like I get out of my clients is mom hurt, that the mom wasn't present how they needed her to be or allowed other trauma to happen in their life or didn't support them or was part of the whole weight process in the first place. Can you give your examples around that family dynamic, even growing up in that scenario?
Yeah, and it's incredibly ubiquitous. So human beings, I say, are more like dogs and less like cats, meaning we are herd animals. We do not feel comfortable in a group if we stand out. Everybody wants to. We say we want to do that, but most of us don't want to do that. If you've ever had cut off jeans and a t-shirt at a black tie event, you'll know what I'm talking about. You don't have to tell high school kids who are totally rebellious how to dress. They all dress the same way. Why? Because they want to fit in with their peers.
Mhm.
This is not restricted to the clothes that you wear. It could also be your size. So if you come from a family that's large, subconsciously, it may be that that part of your mind is saying it's not safe to stand out from the herd.
Mm.
We want you to fit in because we know that like a zebra is safer in the middle of the herd than off on its own, where it can get
Mhm.
picked off by a lion. If your friend group, the people that you hang out with are heavy, this is another element subconsciously that you're being told by that part of your mind, it's not safe for you to stand out.
Yeah.
So this is something that, especially these days, with the society as heavy as it is working against us and
Mhm.
would need to be resolved at that subconscious level. So the subconscious says, oh, I understand. I'm not going to get rejected or ostracized. It's okay for me to let this weight go, even though I'm different than the rest of my family, even though I'm different than the rest of my friends.
No, thank you. This is interesting because I asked you a loaded question and you went one direction with it. And I love that direction because I think that happens with when people even start losing weight, that it's fun and supported at first, and then all of a sudden the support isn't there. And then it can get super uncomfortable to still be on your own journey on your own. So that's what I'm gathering out of what you were just saying. And then my brain also went the other direction of trauma within a parent that's maybe not as intense as sexual abuse, but they're not providing the love and attention that was maybe needed or the support.
Yeah, and if that's linked in some way to weight, and I can think of two ways right off the top of my head. There are clients that I have whose mother, let's say, was always criticizing their weight.
Mhm.
So maybe there's part of the mind that believes that it's impossible for them to lose weight. And we tend to realize what we expect, particularly what we accept at the subconscious level.
Mhm.
What is familiar is also safe. The other thing is, and you would be very well versed in this, is that when you're stressed, you're releasing adrenaline and cortisol into your bloodstream. The adrenaline gives you the energy to fight or run away, and the cortisol tells your body, hold on to all available fat, particularly in your midsection. This is an evolutionary adaptation. It's probably the reason why you and I are here having this conversation, because our ancestors, if they had gone through a difficult winter, or the crops failed, or the main breadwinner died, or there was a war or a famine, we would have gone into a stress mode, and our body, our system would have said, hold on to that fat, don't let it go. And that's what we would have used to get through a lean winter. Well, if a person doesn't feel loved, they're probably always going to feel under a state of stress. Right? And they're going to be dumping that adrenaline and especially the cortisol when it comes to weight loss. And that's going to be working at cross purposes. So I've felt for a long time that in order to get control of your weight, you have to get control of your stress, first and foremost. And
Yes,
that's
thank you.
all going to happen at that deep subconscious level, right? Because we can't all go on vacation all the time.
And it doesn't even cure that. Like, it
No.
sounds like it should.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for that exact example. Needed that. That's just going to hit home for so many individuals. And I think that, so that's the first level of, that's why I might be in this constant state of stress and I don't feel stressed. I actually have a good life now. I actually am in a marriage that I like. But we have this lingering piece that we can't get rid of, which is where you're going to come into play. Before we talk about that, do you want to give the other example that came to your mind when we were starting these
I did.
examples?
I threw in the other one, which was the cortisol. I feel like that's ubiquitous, especially in the culture in which we live right now. I mean, I don't think people have been this stressed out in previous decades because the stress, let's keep this in mind. Most people are probably not aware of this. When you watch a movie, let's say it's a horror movie or it's a suspense film, or you watch the news and they're talking about calamities that are happening all over the world. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what you're viewing on that screen and real life. And that's why when you go to see a movie and it's suspenseful, you can feel your heart rate elevate. You can feel all the effects of stress, like maybe gripping the armrests of the chair in which you're seated.
It's
Right? You might cover your eyes. The advertisers even, they know this. They call it a thrill of your pants roller coaster ride. That's what they call movies. That's how they advertise them because they know that they're activating your nervous system.
Mhm.
And when the nervous system is activated, here comes the cortisol. So if you're addicted to the news, if you're getting really angry about what's happening or really frightened about what's happening, you're working at cross purposes with yourself about losing weight. And then there's another factor too. So it's not just the cortisol, it's also Human beings don't want to be in a state of pain of any kind, of discomfort. And we will do all sorts of things to get out of it, most notably to distract ourselves. This is where comfort eating comes in, or stress eating. So you may be finding yourself doing this and not knowing why. And I'm going to say it's a soothing activity. It's a distracting activity. So again, getting control of your stress would help you with that piece as well.
Yes. I love that. I have a client who says, I don't have a weight problem, I have a stress problem. That's what I've been told. And I'm like, I'm agreeing. Like, yes, I think that would be more people than we realize. And I love that you brought up the news factor, the social media piece. We can hear that that elevates our stress. We can hear that this is not good for us from a health standpoint. And yet people aren't changing. Here we go again. I know that that's not good for me, but I'm still coming back to it every day. So now take us on your journey of that's foundational work. We're all clicking in, we're all understanding what's important. What's your next layerings of this onion, this piece of the puzzle?
I mean, for me, it's always root cause. So if I were a car mechanic and you brought a car to me because it had smoke coming out of the engine, you would expect me to get to the root cause. If I said, I don't know what's causing this, but I can install a fan to blow away the smoke, you'd be pretty unhappy. And you'd take your car to somebody else. So for me, I'm always fixated on root cause. At the same time, we can work on the other side of the coin, and that would be, for me, it would be the hypnotic suggestions for the desired outcome. So we were talking briefly before we punched record, and that was about my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel has 130,000 subscribers and 17 million views, and a good probably 40 to 50% at least has to do with weight loss. So I've got a lot of experience with the hypnotic side, what works, what doesn't work. And the people that listen to those tracks are doing the other side of the coin from the root cause. So when I meet with somebody, I'm really focused on the root cause. We'll do some of the suggestions in session, but we're really focused on clearing out the obstacles, because I can assign them. I can say, here, I want you to listen to this track while you're sleeping. Just play it in the background. And many of those tracks are sub-audible tracks. So the only thing they're going to hear is the sound of rain or soft instrumental music or the sound of ocean surf, which really kind of blows me away that this works as well as it does. I mean, the one video that has the most views, that's 3.5 million, is a subliminal / sub-audible track. The only thing people hear is nature sounds, or maybe that one is music, I can't remember. But they're just playing it softly in their bedroom. And if you read through the comments, you get everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. And so many people, thousands of people, have lost weight by listening to this thing while they're sleeping. Because when you sleep, it's your conscious mind that becomes unconscious. Your subconscious mind doesn't become deactivated because it's still running everything about your body. It's beating your heart, it's regulating your temperature, your immune system, your digestive system, your endocrine system, all of these things, many of which are implicated in weight gain or weight loss. And what I'm reinforcing on that track is back to the autonomic nervous system. You're safe. You're safe to release the old weight. And the subconscious is literal, but it also gets metaphor. So safe to release the old weight can not just mean the physical weight, but rather the emotional weight. It occurred to me a long time ago that we speak about painful emotions with weight language, a heavy heart. That information, that story that's really heavy because we feel a kind of heaviness. So the suggestion in there is to the subconscious that it's safe to release the physical weight, but it's also safe to release whatever the emotional weight it's been holding on to that's probably driving the physical weight.
So I think this is so interesting because I feel like most people attack this from a more conscious level, right? call it talk therapy, or just that's kind of what we know to head towards.
Mhm.
And I keep getting more and more hypnotherapy conversations on here, and I love it. It's like with very wise professionals who this is not woo-woo. This is another way to get at it. It's another tool to release trauma. And so when you think about if somebody really is coming from trauma and they have not tried hypnotherapy, do you feel like they are missing out on a component that could be their game changer? That if they never do try it, they might never get to where they can get to?
I'm reluctant to say that to the second part, that they're never going to get there. I've got a spiritual belief that we're all going to get to where we need to get to, given
Mhm.
enough time. But are they missing out on something that could potentially help them? Yeah, I think by definition they are. Hypnotherapy is really known for two things, even though it's good for anything you use your mind for, which is everything. It's known for smoking cessation and weight loss. And that's one of the reasons why my YouTube channel has so much attention on the weight loss, because it's just known for that. People will search that, but they won't search other things, even though it could be just as effective. So yeah, they are missing out on a tool that could help them for sure. So many people will say to me, because another big thing I program in on my tracks is you feel comfortable and satisfied with 2/3 the volume of food that you used to eat. And people will talk about how they're just not eating as much anymore. It's directly programmed in on the track. I program in that you feel satisfied with that amount of food, that having more starts to feel uncomfortable, full.
Yeah, so interesting. And so, last question with this, and then we can move forward. But so, the person who knows they're coming from trauma, this
Mhm.
would be maybe an easy, like, you've got to really consider trying this tool. The person who doesn't know they're coming from trauma, how do you start to bring that to awareness for somebody?
I teach my clients how to use an ideomotor tool. So if you've ever heard, or if your listeners have ever heard of something called kinesiology, there's a lot of chiropractors that use this. Some naturopathic doctors will use it. It's basically, another phrase is muscle testing. So your body is a feedback mechanism. If I ask you, how are you doing today? And you give me an honest answer, your honest answer will come from what? How your body's feeling.
Mhm.
The feedback it's giving you. If you're having a bad day, or if you meet somebody and you don't get a good feeling about them, it's because you didn't get a good feeling. Your body was telling you this doesn't feel safe. And it's back to the autonomic nervous system. We have all this language, but it's either going to send you to not safe, fight or flight, or safe, rest and digest. Everything. Worried is the same as rage in terms of the subconscious. I have them hold an ideomotor tool. In this case, I have them hold a pendulum. A pendulum is an amplifier of what the body is always saying. Your body has an opinion about everything. If you put something to your mouth, your body has an opinion about it. And I can promise you, if it's an organic apple, it has an opinion which would be stated as yes. If you put artificial sweetener towards your mouth, like aspartame, it has an opinion about that too. And I guarantee you it will be no, for sure. And it blows people away when they're holding the pendulum, not me. And we establish for them how it moves for a yes and how it moves for a no. And again, this is not crazy. This is an amplification of what your body is already telling you. It's also aligned with so many common phrases in our culture. When people have big decisions to make, their friends say, what does your heart tell you? What does your gut tell you? What does your intuition tell you? Or sleep on it. We say these things.
Yeah.
So this is just a tool to help you get direct answers from you about what's going on. So we can ask questions. Are my weight issues related to an emotional trauma I suffered in the past, a physical trauma? And we're going to get a yes or a no. And if we get a yes, we can dig deeper into that. What was it? When did it happen? Where was I when it occurred? Because certain things can happen that don't look to adults like traumas, or we don't really think of it that way. Like you could get humiliated in front of a class when you're in the second grade because they called you up in front of the class, they ask you to solve a math problem, you can't do it, all the kids laugh at you, and the teacher just sits there and watches you. That could be a belief that's created deep in your subconscious mind that it's not safe to stand out. And then you could go back to that interpretation. And for you, it might be a yes. For you, it might be a no. That the subconscious decided this is for everything. How much money I make, my weight, where I live, the car I drive. Right? It could be driving all of these things, speaking in public. So if that's the case, even though it's not this dramatic event, like you were in the military or something, but it's still super painful, especially to a second grader. And we would want to resolve that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. It's so well said. And I feel like, is the understanding of this that once things are brought to, acknowledged, understood, is that when our body can release it? Or now is there next steps of work to be done?
That's part of it. Carl Jung, the famous Swiss psychologist, said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So yes, bringing it to the surface, in Carl Jung's words, is crucial, but there's a second step. So you're in medicine, right? You're a nurse?
I'm a dietitian. Mm-hmm.
Dietitian, okay. So when I was trained as an EMT and I worked with people out in the field, I was a firefighter EMT. It was a two-step process. And it was a rapid assessment. So we had to look at their body, head to toe, front to back, to determine what was going on before we did anything. But then there was a second step, which is you got to do something about it. And I feel the same way about finding something like this and bringing it to the surface. That's the rapid assessment part in EMT language. But the second step is always for me to now heal it or neutralize it. Remember what we said at the outset. Subconscious has no concept of time. To it, everything is now. To it, everything is either a threat or it's safe. So we can use that to our advantage using hypnotic regression or some other tools. We can take the mind back there and we can heal it where it lives. And it really depends on what happened. An example of what happens as people go through this, it's not for everybody, but it's one of the things that the mind will do. It starts making it harder for that person to see the scene in their mind. So the scene in their mind, let's say, is second grade. I'm standing in front of the class. Everyone's laughing at me. I can see a particular color, maybe, in this example. And I can feel, even sitting in this chair 40 years later, I can feel my face getting hot. And I can feel my heart pounding, and I can feel a heaviness somewhere in my body. I feel like all eyes are on me, like they're boring a hole in me. As the person works through this, as we work through this, it may be that the scene starts to become dim. It starts to fade. It starts to go farther away. As we work through it, it might be like, yeah, it's starting to get foggy. It's like 50% foggier than it was before. And the sensations in my body are also changing. My heart's not beating rapidly anymore. My face is warm, but it's not hot. We keep working on it, and now their body feels totally normal, and they can't access it. Even when I say, like, really get into it, they can remember it happened, but they can't access the details anymore. For some people, that's how their mind solves this. It's how it neutralizes it. There are other cases where we essentially overwrite it, or we rewrite what happened in a way that the conscious mind will always remember exactly what happened. But that's 5% of your brain's processing power. We're rewriting it in the subconscious mind to turn it from a situation where a person felt like a victim, they felt like they were out of control, to something like they felt like they were in control. An example of how you can do this is you can bring, let's say the client is 45 years old. We can have the adult version, the 45-year-old, go back in time. This is all in their mind, in their consciousness, in hypnosis, and rescue their second grader. They can talk to the teacher and say, how come you didn't step in here?
Yeah.
Let's do it again where you step in. The teacher steps in, they apologize, the kids behave differently. And now that person has imprinted in their subconscious mind a more empowering version of what occurred. And again, I'm not trying to say that we're washing their mind somehow and they can't consciously remember it. They can. But you have 60,000 thoughts a day and you're aware of 5% of them. We don't know how often in this example your mind is going back to this incident. and you're becoming triggered and you don't even know why.
I was just going to ask you, that's so crazy that you just said that, like verbatim of what I was going to ask, the whole triggered piece, because I have a lot of examples with clients where they're like, being shushed triggers me, or, being too loud, being too much, not being allowed to be myself triggers me when somebody puts me in my quiet place again. And that's not my personality. I'm kind of loud and boisterous. And so like I definitely see out of people these triggers, and then it's like, okay, what's the tool? What's the next? Like, how do we make that less? I don't know. Like, so this is perfect that we're talking about this.
Yep. And the answer is in the military, they have bomb disposal experts. They find an improvised explosive device on the side of the road. And they don't send the regular soldiers over there to deal with it. They send the experts in to deal with it. And their job is to defuse the bomb, to deactivate it so that it can't be triggered either by pressure or by a remote electronic signal. They can make it inert in essence by taking the whatever triggers it or explodes it, separating that from the explosive. We do the same thing. We neutralize the precipitating event that set up this pattern.
Yeah.
We're all running patterns, all of us. We have to in order to survive. Walking across the room is a pattern. Mm-hmm. If you had to think about that consciously every time you did it, you'd be like a toddler. You'd fall down, you'd stand up, you'd crawl, you'd fall down, you'd stand up, right? So we need these patterns, and most of them are very, very helpful. The one you just described is a limiting pattern based upon some kind of limiting belief, which is based upon a moment in time. Something happened. One of your parents was doing this to you, perhaps all the time, but there was a moment in time, it was one incident where you kind of took this on as, wow, that feels really bad. And it could be for you, I'm just making this up because we don't know each other. It could be for you, they think I'm stupid. They don't believe in me. They don't trust me. When this happens, I feel like a little girl again, I'm not an adult. My response, and I'm making this up again, Lindsey,
yeah, no, this is perfect.
That my response to that is irritation, which is a form of anger, because the purpose of anger is to protect us against the perception that something of value was just taken from us or might be taken from us in the future. The only other response that one could have in a scenario like that would be withdrawal. Shut down, get quiet, move away, silent treatment, whatever it is.
Right.
Right. So all of those things happen as a pattern. You've just described it. And again, the way you resolve it is just like a car mechanic or like the bomb disposal expert. You get to the root of it and you defuse it at its root so that when the same thing happens, you don't have the same response. A hypnotist or anyone who's ever watched a hypnosis stage show knows that you can actually create triggers. So on stage, they'll have all these people hypnotized and they'll say, when I snap my fingers, you won't be able to remember your name. 1, 2, 3. The person can't remember their name. Why? Because they set up a trigger, which is the snapping of the finger, with a phenomenon. They can't remember their name. But it could just as easily be they say, when I say the word orange, you can't remember your name. And our culture is obsessed with protecting people, I'm going to use air quotes for that, from triggers. To me, this is insane. We should be resolving the underlying reason why the person has anxiety, not trying to protect them from anything that might cause it, because a hypnotist knows it could be anything. You can't protect people from all the smells, all the colors, all the tones of voice, all the words. We're going to go on a billboard or something. We want to resolve the underlying wound. It would be like saying, I walked into the hospital and I had this wound on my shoulder. And they just said to me, well, don't let anyone touch it. Instead of cleaning it out, stitching it up, putting a bandage over it. And once it heals, now somebody can touch my shoulder and it's not going to hurt me.
Yes. This is so good because my brain goes to even like eating disorders, or I've had clients where they're like, I can remember the day that somebody called me something or said this, and it becomes like, as parents, I think even like in the bullying situation in school and whatnot, like we will never be able to protect our kids from things that other kids are telling them. So how do we buffer them with the wisdom and understanding that You can hear it. It can make you sad. It can whatever, but it doesn't affect your whole being.
Exactly.
And that's what you're talking about.
That's yes, and that's perfectly stated that we cannot as human beings go through this life and not suffer pain. We're going to.
Mhm.
We're going to fall down and skin our knees. We're going to bump into things. People are going to say stuff to us. We're going to say stuff to other people. This is the other thing, is that we're not
Yeah.
walking around as pristine little God,
Yes,
never
we
make a
could be the
mistake.
problem.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right. We're going to lose
Yeah.
people that we love. It's going to happen.
Mhm.
And our ancestors showed us the way with their resilience,
Yeah.
with their courage, with the phrase, get back on the horse. We are way stronger than our current paradigm, our current society gives us credit for. We are the product of countless generations of people who went through unbelievable hardship,
Mhm.
way more than reading page 167 of a classic novel that has a word on there that might upset someone. You know, they went through
Yes.
wars, they went through famines, they went through women dying in childbirth, they went through hardship with food, you name it.
Yeah.
And we are made of that stuff.
Mhm.
But like a muscle will only respond to the demands you place on it. If you place no demands on the muscle, it's going to atrophy. And it's the same with our courage, the same with our resilience. We have to put some demands on it for it to get stronger. But it's not going to happen if we've been brainwashed into thinking we're a sad little wallflower.
Right. Right. Oh, so well stated. Yes. This resilience piece is like a big buzzword in my community. Because as you know, even in the weight loss realm, it's not about never falling off track. It's not about we're going to eat donuts. We're going to not work out for a week because life got hard and work ramped up. Like it's not about that. It's about what do we do with the next opportunity that we can do something about it. And that's the make or break. How do we teach people that the resilience piece trumps all?
I would like to offer up one other factor. Resilience is basically a tool in service of something else. So, for one of our ancestors, when food was scarce, the resilience would be, I have to keep going because I got kids to feed. I can't give up. So, kids to feed, the welfare of the children, would be the higher goal in that scenario. And when I work with people on weight loss, one of my first questions is, and it's going to sound stupid, why? Why do you want to lose the weight? Because if you can't find a compelling reason to lose the weight, then all these other things are going to be robbed of the motivation that they need.
Yeah.
We need that higher motivation that we keep coming back to.
Yeah.
I'm not going to give up because my kids are counting on me. I'm not talking about weight loss right now,
Yeah.
but some higher motivation. So often people will say, well, I just want to feel better. Okay, what does that mean? Do you want to feel better physically? Do you want to feel better emotionally? And it might be like they might say, yeah, both. What does that mean? How will you know when you feel better physically?
Mhm.
Well, my heart will feel lighter. I'll feel like I can show my face in public again. I'll feel like I'm not out of breath anymore. And again, this may sound stupid, but why? Because I'm really looking for the subconscious reason.
Mhm.
Because that is tied to an emotion. And there's
Right.
two reasons here. One is so that we can keep tapping for that person, that deeper motivation. And secondly, it's to help them understand consciously and then actually give them the experience that you're allowed to feel good about yourself even before you reach your goal. Because if you don't, if you're upset, if you're angry, if you look in the mirror and you become disgusted with yourself, you're probably not going to stick to your plan, number one. And number two, you're just dumping more cortisol into your bloodstream. And that's working at cross purposes. And often people, like when you really get into this deep conversation with them and you say, Well, if your daughter was overweight, would you call her the name you're calling yourself? You know what the answer is going to be. Well, no. Well, it's not I'd like you to treat yourself with the same love, kindness, respect that you're treating your daughter. If your son wasn't reaching his goal, would you call him a stupid idiot? Would you call him lazy? The way you're calling yourself those things.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I wouldn't do that. Okay, we want you to apply the same grace to yourself that you apply to them, because that's actually going to help you reach your goal, not, castigating yourself.
Yes. This is so good.
So for those individuals, that higher goal, and we don't want it to be amorphous. We want it to be as emotionally charged as it deserves to be, because it probably does deserve to be, because people will start crying, why can't I lose this weight? They'll get angry. They call themselves those names. That's a lot of emotion under there. And what I think after doing this for 20 years is we all take different paths to the same desired outcome. Meaning, we all want to be loved. And some people think if I'm famous, I'll be loved. Some people think if I make a lot of money, I'll be loved. If I get the corner office, I'll be loved. If I lose 40 pounds, I'll be loved. If I have a really hot girlfriend, I'll be loved. If I have a nice car, I'll be loved. Like it's not a conscious thing. It's not like, oh, I think I'm putting those two together. It's a subconscious thing. Mm-hmm. But that's the ultimate thing. So if you can have a person sitting in a chair with their eyes closed and you have them in a hypnotic state and you help them feel the feelings that they want by having that outcome, now you've connected the cerebral, the conscious understanding with the physical manifestation of what that feels like. And if I don't have to beat myself up to get there, if I can put myself in that state, then what I know, Lindsey, is that like attracts like. Anger doesn't attract love. Right. Hatred doesn't attract friendship. And self-flagellation doesn't attract anything healthy, including a healthy weight. I know that there are people out there that will be saying, well, if I give myself the feeling that I want to have, then why would I go for the goal? And my answer is, the reason for getting the goal may change, but because like attracts like, everything in your life will improve, including your weight. Your weight is a symptom of something else.
Right.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
So if your relationship with your husband improves and your blood pressure improves and you start making more money and you're happier in general and you lose the weight, to me, this is the outcome we want. We don't just, that's the one thing in isolation. You're still miserable over here. You're still not sleeping well, like whatever. That the weight really is a symptom of how healthy is this person in all these ways.
Thank you. It's so nice to sit on this side and just be silent for a moment and watch you paint this picture of what I know our listeners can be like, huh, like, again, I knew that. I know this dichotomy of I can love myself and still want to change, but I love how you just pulled it into this other piece of, you're right. We could be skinny and sleeping like poop. And like, that's not fun. We could be skinny and still be in a bad relationship with our spouse. That's not fun. Or not be respected by our kiddos because we're so snippy and we can't like be proud of ourselves when we lay our head on our pillow at night. That's not okay. It's all of it, which is what you just so beautifully described. So thank you for that. Oh my gosh. I knew this conversation was going to be great and you're exceeding my expectations. I haven't even like looked at my questions because you've driven this beautifully. We will put your YouTube and places to find you in the show notes. Is there anything that I'm not asking you that you're like, let's talk about this for one more minute?
The only other thing is just, and I'm sure you've talked about this a lot. I'm old enough to remember the 1970s very clearly. And when I was confronting my own weight issues, and I'm 64 and I never had weight issues up until like 10 or 15 years ago. And I'm talking about like 15 pounds right on the gut and chest. that I really started with our ancestors. What did they consume? Not just in terms of the food, but also what came in through their eyes and their ears. That's also consumption.
So good.
And in the 70s, even, it wasn't that long ago, historically speaking, television, we have 7 channels. And they all went off the air at midnight during the week. And on the weekends, they might go until like 1 a.m. And then you got a test pattern. What's it?
Yes.
There were no phones, there were no tablets. Nothing. It was either a book or rotary
Or go to
dial.
bed.
Yeah, you had to go to bed. You had to go to bed, right?
Yes.
And so the whole picture is vital. The food that we eat now is totally adulterated relative to how it was in the 1970s. You know, the high fructose corn syrup and hormones that they give the animals, and particularly, and this gets back to the media diet thing, light directly affects our endocrine system, our hormones. And that directly affects our weight. It directly affects our ability to sleep, which in turn affects the hormones, which in turn affects weight. So my feeling, and I'm sure this is what you talk about, is the holistic aspect here. You know, it's the food, what you eat, and I think when you eat it, because our ancestors weren't grazing they weren't eating all the time. They might get an animal and then they're all feasting, and then they don't eat anything for a while, and then they're eating, you know, gathering things. So I think it's what you eat when you eat it, and then what are your practices? So what is your sleep like? What is your stress like, which affects your sleep? What do you do on a daily basis? So you brush your teeth every day, I'm pretty sure, anyone who's listening. You probably take a shower every day, or at least a couple times, you know, a few times a week. But what are you doing for your mind and your nervous system? What practice are you doing? Chances are it's nothing. Do you pray? Do you spend 5 minutes praying? Do you meditate? Do you do something to take your mind into a place of total calm, of total peace, where when you emerge from this 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes, you feel like you came back from vacation? I'm going to say no, you're probably not. But I believe that is a pillar that affects all of these other healthy habits. Because if you do that, you're not going to be as compulsive about stress eating, about emotional eating. You're going to sleep better. Your relationship is going to be better. Your blood pressure is going to improve. Your immune system is going to improve. And if you don't believe me, look up epigenetics. Epi is Greek for above genetics. You can actually change your genetic expression by meditating for like 10 minutes a day, or doing prayer for 10 minutes a day, or putting on headphones and pressing play on one of my tracks. It's that easy, but it has to be elevated because you've connected it with your higher goals to your daily practice. Just like you've connected brushing your teeth to your daily practice, or cleaning your house to your weekly practice, or whatever it is. That's what I want to say is for people to move more in their thinking and their practice to the holistic approach, rather than thinking, oh, there's just another version of the magic pill that I can take.
Right. And it is not. No, thank you. Again, so well stated. And it's so hopeful to know there is other tools. There's other things that we have maybe not been privy to understanding. And this is where I love podcasting and meeting professionals like yourself, of just like there's something else we can discover and maybe get a lot of benefit out of it. So let's stay open-minded. My chiropractor always used to talk about the epigenetics and how he geeked out over that. And he's like, we're not doomed to whatever that person that we see, those relatives that we see that maybe aren't thriving in their older years. That doesn't have to be us.
That's
We can
true.
change.
And a lot of that becomes what a hypnotist would call a family mind. So a family mind involves hearing the same thing your whole life. Like all the men in our family die in their 50s. That's like a doctor saying you got 6 months left to live, and the person subconsciously enacts the prognosis like a hypnotic suggestion, or a nocebo, which is the opposite of a placebo. Placebo is people have these remarkable physiological changes based on a sugar pill. The expectation that they're going to have a certain outcome. So a nocebo is the opposite of that. It's having a negative outcome based upon an expectation. And a family mind is a cultural thing inside the family that creates certain things. Like, oh, all the women are heavy in our family. So the little kid is like taking in these suggestions over and over again, builds it as an expectation, and that's what happens to her. And maybe she doesn't want to stand out. Maybe she wants to feel like she's part of the family, and she feels like if she loses 40 or 50 pounds, she won't be.
Yep. Yes, and we've come full circle. Like, so good. Wow. All right. If you could wrap your arms around our community today, one thing that you hope and pray that they heard out of you, what would it be?
That they're allowed to love themselves right now for exactly who and what and where they are, and to use that state to move forward, to use that state to change in whatever way is right for them, not for a 17-year-old airbrushed AI enhanced model, but for them, because they have their own natural beauty at whatever age they are. And that's the place that they will find when they become healthy in all ways.
So good. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for your time, your wisdom today. We just appreciate you.
You're welcome, and thanks for having me, and thanks to your listeners, your viewers.
Yes.